Hello students and welcome to lesson 4 of our unit on applications of percents. In this lesson we are going to be focusing on taxes. Our essential questions for today are: number 1, what are taxes? 2, what kinds of taxes do we have to pay? 3, what is the sales tax percentage in Pennsylvania? And lastly, how do I calculate tax on sales? By the end of the lesson, I want you to actually be able to make those calculations with accuracy. All of you have been to a store before, and when you leave the store, you walk out with what's called a receipt. At the bottom of the receipt, you will see some of the things that we're going to be talking about in this lesson. So here we have a sales receipt from the Home Depot. At the bottom, we see a word called the subtotal. That is the cost of your items before tax. We then see the sales tax, which is calculated on some of your items, in this case all of the items because these are non-necessity items. And then we get a total, which is the sum of the subtotal and the sales tax, which means we will have to add those two together to get the total cost. So to begin our lesson, I would like you to fill out this KWL chart about taxes. I want you to pause the video and take a few minutes to write down some things that you know about taxes. You should have some background information because we did talk about taxes in lesson 2 of this unit. I also want you to write down at least 2 or 3 things that you would like to know about taxes, and maybe in this lesson we will address them, and if not, we can talk about those in class. So please pause the video and write down 2 or 3 items in each of these. What do you know about taxes, and what do you want to know about taxes? In this lesson, we have some important concepts that I would like you to understand. And the first is, what are taxes? What does tax really mean? Taxes are a percentage of a sale, income, or property that is paid to the state or federal government. So why do we have to pay these taxes? What do we get out of it? We pay them because taxes fund government programs and services, including but not limited to Social Security, health care, national defense, public schools, safe highways, prisons, police and fire protection, etc. Anything that's funded by the government is paid for through taxes. So what kinds of taxes do we have to pay? There are different types. The first is sales tax. It is the one that you pay the most often. This is a percentage of a sale paid to the government. So you pay this every time you buy a non-necessary item. County taxes are a percentage of the value of a person's home and land paid to the county and local boroughs. This type of tax is paid by people who own properties, property owners. Similarly, we have school taxes, which is a percentage of the value of a person's home and land paid to the local school district. This type of taxes funds the school programs. We also have income taxes, which is a percentage of a person's earned wages or income, their paycheck, paid to the government. In this lesson, we are going to focus on sales tax. Now, we already know a little bit about sales tax. We know that when we buy a house, we have to pay a what percent sales tax? A 2% sales tax. This sales tax is also known as a deed transfer tax. Now, sometimes we might, the key is that we might have to pay another tax on sales, and that is a 6% sales tax. We do not have to pay this on every item that we buy, only some items. So what do we have to pay this tax on? We do have to pay it on any non-necessary purchases. Now, we know that the prefix non means not. So what types of items are not necessary for life? video games are a non-necessary item. You don't need them to survive. There are countless other non-necessary items. When we're calculating sales tax, you have to pay the subtotal, which is the amount your items add up to, the money for your items, plus an additional. And in our last flipped unit, we learned that plus an additional signals what operation? Add. A percentage of, we know that percentage of means we're going to take that percent as a decimal, which in this case is 6% in Pennsylvania, 0.06. Of means to multiply that subtotal, how much non-necessary items we need. Now, order of operations says, which one of these operations do we have to do first? Addition or multiplication? So we'll do the multiplication first, and then we'll do our addition. Let's look at an application. Let's say you go to Walmart and you purchase a television that costs $120. $120 would be called the subtotal, since this is the only item we're purchasing. It also says that the sales tax is 6%. So we know that for tax, we are going to have to pay 6% of that $120 extra. And then we'll be able to figure out the total bill. So we'll start by taking $120 and multiply by 0.06. Notice I took off the 0.00 because that just will make extra work when multiplying. This has the same value. 6 times 0 is 0, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 1 is 6, and 1 more is 7. 2 decimal places in our answer. So our tax amount is going to be $7.20. That's our tax amount. That's in addition to our subtotal. So we need to take our $120 and add our $7.20. So we get $127.20. So in all, we will pay $127.20 for this television. Let's try another example. If we bought a camcorder that cost $599, would we walk out of the store paying only $599? No, because we will also have to add our tax to that. So we know that $599 plus our tax will be our total cost. So how do we figure out this tax? We'll figure it out by calculating 6% of the cost of the camcorder, which is $599. So we need to take $599 and multiply by 0.06. 6 times 9 is 54. 6 times 9 is 54, and 5 more makes 59. 6 times 5 makes 30, and 5 more makes 35. 2 decimal places. So our tax amount is $35.94. So in addition to the $599 that we have to pay for the camcorder, we will have to pay an additional $35.94, which is the tax. The subtotal plus the tax gives us our total charge, which in this case would be $634.94 in all. Now, likely when you go to the store, you do not purchase only one item. So that subtotal could be a separate calculation that you need to make. Let's read this problem and see how we have to calculate the subtotal. If the sales tax rate is 8.25%, marking the text, how much tax, we're looking for the tax, would Alexis pay if she bought a black cartridge for her printer for $52.88 and a color cartridge for $34.79? Do you see how we have two items that we're purchasing? We will need to add them to get the subtotal. So if we take $52.88 and add $34.79, that will give us our subtotal. 8 plus 9 makes 17. 1 and 8 is 9, plus 7 more is 16. 1 and 2 makes 3, and 4 more makes 7. 5 plus 3 makes 8. So we have an $87.67 subtotal. Cartridges for a printer are non-necessary for life, so we will have to pay tax on this. So we're going to take $87.67 and multiply by the tax rate. Since Alexis' tax rate is not 6%, she must be in some other state. So we're going to write her sales tax rate. Do you see how it's 8 whole percent? 8% is 0.08. So we'll just put the 25 after because that's part of a percent, not a whole percent. Now we are going to use our calculator to multiply this to save some time. So we have $87.67 times 0.0825, and that gives us 7.232775. Now we know that money, the smallest amount of money that we have is a penny, which is 1/100th of a dollar. So we look to the right, it will not round it up, so she is going to pay $7.23 in tax. We do not need to add to get the total in this case because we were asked how much tax, not how much in all. Now, this is your challenge question, which is your practice problem in today's lesson. So this is one that you're going to try on your own. However, I am going to read it to you to help some of you who need that. Carla is buying shoes at the Hagerstown outlets where she must pay a 5.5% sales tax. That's her tax rate. Every pair of shoes in the store is on sale. They either have a blue dot or a yellow dot to tell their sale. A blue dot means that the shoes cost $25 and that you can buy two and get one free. So I'd pay $25 for the first one, $25 for the second one, but nothing for the third one because it's free if it has a blue dot. A yellow dot means that they are 50% off, so they cost $12.50 per pair. That's how much every pair of yellow dot shoes cost, $12.50. Carla buys 7 pairs with a blue dot and 3 pairs with a yellow dot. What is her total cost including tax? This is a challenge question for you. So to summarize our lesson, I would like you to pause the video at this time and fill in this KWL chart with what you have learned and what you still want to know about taxes. You may pause the video at What you should have learned today in today's lesson is taxes are a percent of the amount of money paid to the government to raise funds. Sales tax is charged on all non-necessary purchases at a 6% rate. And to calculate sales tax, multiply 0.06 by the subtotal of non-necessary items. This should be stated in your own words as part of your KWL chart.